Okay. Good afternoon. Buenas tardes. Welcome. Welcome to this talk, to this seminar under the Gastronomy Shapers initiative. It's a pleasure to be connected with you and to be doing like the introduction of this special seminar for us. I'm going to just to say some words to thank and to introduce Dan Barber. He's already connected and he will be turning on the camera rightly on. But well, I would like to say some words about Dan. First, I would like to thank him so much to be connected with us and to be sharing with us his reflections and his experiences. I know that for everybody, I would say in the world of gastronomy and in the world of hospitality, these are tough times. And yeah, I appreciate very much, Dan, that you are sharing and joining us in this moment. Dan has been, I would say, a very inspiring person for Basque Culinary Center. He's member of our international board from the very beginning, and he has inspired, I would say, how we think and also what we do, what we have done in our years of activity in these 10 years. Of course, most of you, all of you, you know, he's the chef of Blue Hill Restaurant. Also, he's, I would say, the inspiring chef in Storm Barns, an incredible place dedicated to food and agriculture, a place where they produce food, educational place, where also gathers producers, chefs. I mean, it's an incredible place. I think everyone that is connected here should go to Storm Barns in the future, just to see how chefs and producers, or chef vision and producer vision, can work together. Of course, Dan Barber has been a pioneer also in, we could say, farm to table philosophy. But if anyone is interested in thinking and learning more about how we eat and what we eat, should read this book, The Third Plate. I think it's for students of gastronomy, it's a must, it's a necessary reading to understand how deliciousness, taste, and nutritious and healthy food is so connected, and to have this wide perspective and integrated perspective of food, no? And I think Dan has shown us this in the last years. And also, I would like to finish also, we have been talking so much in the past about gardens and how to strengthen the gastronomy education connected with land, with soil, and also taking in account his last project in the COVID period, the kitchen garden project. We decided to start our own garden in September. So thank you, Dan, also, because that was like the final push to start this garden. And every student in the bachelor degree is spending learning time in the garden. So now we are integrating the land in our gastronomic education. So for everything, for being all the time like inspiring and showing us the path, the road. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And of course, thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Welcome. Thank you everyone for having me. I've been a longtime fan of Jose Maria. It's been amazing to watch the success of Basque Culinary Center. You know, you are now the number one school in the world. And when we started talking, Jose Marie and I, in 2009, I think 2008, you were just opening, yeah? So when did you open officially?
Yeah. I mean, I think first time we talk could be in 2009. So, and we opened 2011, but in 2011, you were already here in San Sebastian in that meeting of the international board. But yeah, a little bit more than 10 years.
Amazing what's been done in 10 years. It's just amazing. And you know, my cooks at Blue Hill, know about Basque culinary. You know, they respect it, and 10 years ago, nobody knew it existed. It's incredible. So you're getting the best education in the world under great leadership with Jose Marie and obviously an amazing group of chefs who are helping to inspire the curriculum. Today, I'm just going to take a minute to talk to you about something that has become very important to me over the last few years. It's not something that this is about seeds, and seeds were not something that I came into the world of restaurants and being a chef thinking about. I never thought about seeds. And I even partly grew up on a farm. So I'm telling you that even though I have dealt with seeds all my life, I never thought of them in the context of being a chef. And so today I just want to share one screen with you. Jose Marie, I need the host to enable me to share a screen if that's possible. I don't know who the host is.
Sure. I mean, you have a
there it is. Got it.
Slide?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I just wanted everyone to look at this slide. This is 64% of the seed supply in the world. 64% in the world. It's not the United States, it's not Spain, it's not Europe. This is the world, is in the hands of 4 companies. And that's what I wanted to talk to you about quickly today, and have everybody understand that what is the role of the chef moving forward? Because if our seed supply is in the hands of just 4 companies, my question is, are we going to get the best ingredients to work with as we become chefs? And I would argue that if you look at these 4 companies, you will see companies that are interested in selling chemicals. They are actually chemical companies. They're pharmaceutical and chemical companies. They're actually just bought seed companies. And they don't make their money on seeds. They make their money on the chemicals that farmers spray on the seeds, whether it's a fertilizer or a pesticide or a fungicide. This is how these companies make their money, except they control the future of what we plant and then what we use in restaurants. This chart, what you're seeing, 4 companies controlling 64% of our food supply. This is very new, very new. 10 years ago, you would have seen 20 companies. 40 years ago, you would have seen hundreds of companies. 100 years ago, you wouldn't have seen any companies. Nobody owns seeds, 0%. Owning seeds, a company devoted to owning seeds, is a very new idea. And that's what I wanted to get across to you today. It's a very new idea. Before 100 years ago, we traded seeds. Your neighbor gave to this neighbor, that farmer to this farmer, your grandmother to your grandchild. That's how seeds were passed. They were traded, they were given, they were saved on farm. That all disappeared about 100 years ago. And until very recently, there were a lot of companies selling seed. And then recently, those companies got purchased by these companies, these 4 that you're looking at. And these 4 companies are not interested in the kinds of things that we are on this phone call. And that's the important thing to get across to you all. What are they interested in? They're interested in selling chemicals. And if they're interested in selling chemicals, it means they want their the plants, the seeds that they sell, to be what? Weak. They don't want strong plants, because if they have strong plants, then what's the point of selling you the chemicals? No point. So these are companies that are selling seeds that are generally pretty weak and that require a lot of the chemical intervention that these companies produce. And that's how they make their money. That is not the kind of food we want to be cooking. It doesn't make you hungry, does it? No. And if it's 64% today, what is it going to be in 5 years? 80%? Are 4 companies going to control nearly 100% of our food supply in our lifetime? Frightening, very scary. And so I started a seed company a few years ago because I don't like this picture. And my seed company is tiny. It wouldn't even show up on this map as a dot of a pencil. It's so small. But I've started it with 120 chefs around the world. And we're basically saying, this is not our future. No way. And we are producing seeds with incredible flavor. And we're producing them for organic farmers. Because without organic farmers, we're not going to have a future that's really delicious, because we're going to have a future that relies on these companies to give us chemicals. So we need organic farmers, we need organic seeds, and we need seeds selected for flavor. We have to. These people do not care about flavor. They care about how much comes out of the ground, yield, and they care about how many chemicals they can sell. This is to me, if we're going to be chefs of the future, if we're going to be chefs in the future that are successful, we cannot just support good farming, although we have to do that. We cannot just support good gastronomy. Of course, we have to do that. We have to support the right kind of seed, because it all starts with seed. If we get seed wrong, then nutrition, the environment, and flavor, you're fighting it. If you start with the right seed, you have a chance. And so that's why I started the seed company, was to have chefs be a part of seed selection and have chefs have a voice for flavor. Okay, Jose Maria, I stopped there, okay? And we open it up to discussion.
Yeah, I think I will introduce Sasha and Philip that will be also joining the conversation and also raising some questions from students, and we can have a shared conversation here. Sasha?
Yeah, Dan, you were saying that we need organic farmers and organic seeds. So this means that chefs need to have the proper knowledge about this, I guess. And maybe this is also why you started the Kitchen Garden project. I mean, to get interested in seeds is to know about seeds. Why chefs should know and develop knowledge about seeds, and what do you think they can do to start this path?
Well, they can start in your garden at Basque Culinary, because we need to select seeds that are focused on flavor. Because if you're focused on flavor, you're also focused on nutrition. It's the same thing. Flavor and nutrition are the same thing. So it's a garden, it's a medical garden as well as a delicious garden. That's a nice way to think about your garden. And when the chefs that are on this call have their own restaurant, they have to not only support the right farmers, but make sure those farmers are supporting the right seed. And that's the only way we're going to fight the screen that I just had up. We have to fight it. And who's going to fight it? Who? Politicians? No, politicians are in the hands of those companies. It's chefs are the soldiers for flavor. And that's what we need to fight. So this is the responsibility now of the chef. It's not just to cook great food, and it's not just to support farmers, it's to support the right seed.
So for you, every chef should integrate this into their education. For you, it's not an option.
Yes, has to. Otherwise, you're not getting a full education.
And where do you, how do you think that chefs can really display this power that you're talking about? Where can we start to be heard as a global movement? You always say that you imagine chefs as soldiers, but when you talk about this power, it's something sometimes abstract. How can we make ourselves be heard?
Actually, not abstract, because it's the opposite of abstract, because we have menus. So it's not abstract. Everyone else is talking in abstract. We're actually producing something that you eat. This is literal, not abstract. No, this is our menus. This is what we are working with every day with our hands. So it's very literal, and you can taste the difference. So the ideas are revolutionary or powerful because flavor is powerful. And we are soldiers for flavor. And we want to democratize flavor. We don't want just flavor in the hands of expensive restaurants. We want flavor in the hands of everyone. That's everybody's right. So this is not abstract. This is concrete, because we can build menus around this idea.
I said it because maybe it's easy to think that maybe in a smaller scale, then you don't have as big as an impact, but you've always said that you can start from your own restaurant. So there is an important
these
impact.
These are ideas that need to start small. They have to. They start with one dish at a time and they move on. And this is the only way to start a movement in the food world.
And this is what Row 7's, this is what about, I mean, Row 7, your project, is connected with this. Can you tell us more about this?
Yes, we are working with 120 chefs around the world. And we are sending them seeds that we are working on. We are selecting. And we are hoping that they will give us feedback every year on what did well in their garden, what and for their farmer. What did the farmer say? Oh, I loved growing this. This was great. And what did the farmer say? No, I don't want to grow this again. And then in the kitchen, what did they love and what would they like to include on their menu? And what did they not like and would not like to see again? So this is our network and our, R&D. We're doing it with chefs, not with chemical companies.
If some of our students want to get involved in any way with this project, how can they reach you or take part of this?
Go through Jose Marie. You can email me and they can take part of it any way. There's so many ways. We can do that individually, depending on where you live and what your interest is.
What can you tell us about the development of the kitchen farming project? You told us from the beginning when you wanted to launch this initiative. Tell us a bit of how it has been developing.
Well, we launched Kitchen Farming Project in March because I had so many of my cooks out of work and I didn't want them to sit on the couch and watch YouTube. So we gave them plots of land in the grass around stone barns, and they worked with the farmers on planting a small little garden. This morning, I woke up this morning, there is now 3,972 kitchen gardens around the world.
Oh, that's amazing.
In 76 countries and almost all states of the United States. And they're all following the same recipe. And it's been so amazing and inspirational. And I'm so happy that it will continue next year and hopefully continue in the Basque Culinary Center's garden.
What have you learned with this project in this past months?
I've learned the power of good food. It always just takes me back. It's amazing. People will go to a lot of effort to have something delicious. And at its core, this is what we need to remember. Because what those companies that I showed you on the screen don't have is happiness, pleasure, celebration, and that's very powerful. So the kitchen farming project taught me that again, but we all know that, chefs. We know that. You know, the Michel Bras, who is part of the Basque culinary leadership, always says, chefs are marchands du bonheur. It means we are merchants of happiness.
Yeah.
And this is very powerful.
But to have around 4,000 people in this project, it's a great confirmation, no, of what you were already thinking.
Yeah, no advertising. That's all social media. Incredible.
On the last meeting that we had of the International Council of Basque Culinary Center, you also said that you started to think about the role of chefs in restaurants under the midst of this pandemic in a different way. And you were saying that chefs should take part of the debate that concerns health and food. You were saying that this pandemic exposes how we depend on good food. And you suggested that maybe not only doctors should take part of this debate, but also chefs.
Yeah, because I have not been able to see a difference between truly delicious food and there is none. So, you know, I don't really like talking about nutrition because I think it just, you know, it takes away from the pleasure of food. You're thinking about, you know, what vitamin am I getting in my body and what mineral, but you don't need to break it down. You need to enjoy really good food, and chefs are curators. We curate this, we put this together. That's our profession. In many ways, we're curating a vaccine. You know, I mean, vaccine, what is a vaccine for COVID? What is it? It's not a cure for COVID. It's to boost your immunity, to make you stronger. But what is delicious food? What is nutrient-dense food? It's the same thing. So we have the opportunity as chefs to create vaccines, to create immunity boosters for people. And this is another way to think about healthfulness by food. But you have to start with the right seed.
Yeah, of course, but we're not having that much of this conversation out there. I think how chefs can take part of the actual conversation that it's connected with COVID.
I think that's the future, and I think this will become much more a part of what it means to be a chef in the future.
Tying into a little bit of that, in your book, you really emphasize the importance of flavor. You know, calling it a soothsayer or a truth teller. You know, being directly linked to nutrition and the substance of produce. Do you think that flavor is the main catalyst on sort of bringing change, positive change forward in the industry?
I do. Yeah, I do, because it's so pleasurable. That's all. I mean, look at movements, revolutions, activism around different issues. Like, well, look at the environmental movement. Part of the problem with the environmental movement is it's not hedonistic. It's not pleasurable. It's not fun. It's about you giving up things, doing less airplane travel, doing less wasting. It's all good. But the food movement is about pleasure. And to me, that's very important to remember because we're not trying to deny. We want people to be greedy, but you have to be greedy for the right ingredients. To me, that's the kind of campaign that I want to be a part of. I don't want to be a part of a campaign that tells you have to give up everything or you have to stop doing things. Ugh, terrible. I mean, those are important, and I feel I am as much environmentalist as you and probably everybody on this call. But I like, as chefs, to go in through the door of the merchants of happiness, the Michel Bras approach, because I think it has greater power.
On that subject, with flavor being the thing that you can sort of show people and convince people with, and nowadays that chefs, are much more in the spotlight. Kind of, we've went from being a sort of almost shadow figure to having a lot of attention. So to what extent do you think that chefs can or should educate their customers on the subject?
Well, my feeling is that a restaurant is really an education classroom. This is my feeling. I don't know that you need to say this when people come in for dinner, but that's what we are. We're a classroom. Let me ask you this. When do you sit down without a computer and without a phone to talk on the phone or email or text or WhatsApp or Instagram? When in the course of the day, when do you do that for longer than 15 minutes? When you sleep? Maybe when you go to the bathroom? But some people, most of my cooks, they go to the bathroom, they're on Instagram. So, it's sleeping and it's eating at the table. It's at a restaurant. That's it. So you have a chance to connect with people, not just your neighbor and your family as you're sitting at the table, but you have a chance to connect to the world around you through food. You don't even have to leave a city. You don't have to leave your block. You can connect to a farm through a plate of food. And that's partly the responsibility of the chef too. But I say that not because, chefs have to do it. I think it's good advice for a chef because it's an advantage we have. We have people's attention. Everybody is trying to get people's attention. Everybody, every company is trying to get your attention, your attention, your attention. That's what they spend at. That's what advertising is. Let me get your attention. Chefs get it for free. This is very powerful again. And you're doing it in a context, in a context of pleasure. Oof. I mean, who has that? Nobody. So this is exciting for the future of, to me, exciting for the future of being a chef. Much better than being a politician or a scientist or a doctor. You're always giving bad news. Or an environmentalist, bad news. We are here to give good news.
Dan, in between all this context that we are, some chefs are so worried about sustaining their businesses that now they think that there are bigger priorities in the discussion. What is your opinion on this? Should chefs focus on business and then remember about these values?
I don't know the difference between business and values. What's the difference? Why is there a divide? Why you can only do one or the other? I don't know. If your values are your business, then it's the same thing. So yes, it's a very hard time, but it's always a hard time in the restaurant industry. This is a particularly devastating moment. But look, it's also a moment of great opportunity, because when we come out of this, and we will come out of it, I think there's going to be a flourishing of creativity and recognition of the importance of healthy food for our health, because we're going to come out of COVID recognizing how important health is. We have to. I mean, look at COVID right now in the United States. COVID is killing people with underlying conditions. That's what they call them. I don't know how you say that in Spanish, of course, underlying conditions, But when you look at the underlying conditions, it's diabetes, it's obesity, and it's heart disease, something with your heart. All three of those are food related. They're all diet related. And that's 90% of COVID deaths, 90%.
Yeah.
So in many ways, COVID is a food disease. It's an eating disease. It's a diet disease. I think we're going to come out of COVID with a greater appreciation and sensitivity to food. And if we do, chefs are in a great position to create the future of how we eat and how our bodies respond to threats, viruses, environments. This could be an entirely new world. So yes, it's a devastating moment, but coming out of it, it could be quite quite exciting.
And this path starts when you go and you delve into the soil and you put your hands on the soil and you plant your produce and your values.
I'm glad you said that about soil. That's why the garden to me is so important for the BAS students and for everybody. That's what, I am glad you said that. That is what came out of Kitchen Farming Project for me. It's once cooks get their hands in soil and plant and cultivate, they never go back. You just can't. You can't. And you will always value a farmer that's you're connected with soil, because you cannot get flavor out of anything but good soil. You cannot. I don't care what people tell you. It's not possible. So caring for soil is really the beginning, along with seeds. And that you're right. You get your hands in the soil and this will stay with you for your whole career.
And it's crazy. We see chefs that have never put their hands on the soil and they're great chefs. But it happens every day. And it's a big contradiction, right? Because we've seen chefs to be more aware of all this that you're saying, but even though we still see people totally disconnected. So
see, they're disconnected, but those great chefs from the ones that I know, who I think I know some of the people you're talking about, but they also know flavor. So really understand flavor. So they may be disconnected from soil, but they're buying products that are grown in the right way because their tongue is determining that. That's what's so interesting about being a chef, is that you are a farmer and an environmentalist and a nutritionist right here. So I'm not suggesting you should become a chef that's not connected with soil, because you'll be an enriched chef. You'll be a better chef. You'll be a better person. You'll be a happier person. And you'll know something about the way nature works that will stay with you for life. And I cannot stress it enough. On the other hand, the great chefs who do not dig their hands in soil and never have, are still environmentalists, they're still nutritionists, and they're still farmers, because they curate these products from their tongue and they know good products and they know how they're grown. Very powerful.
I've got a question from a student here who wants to know that after visiting, places like the Dehesa or Eduardo Sousa's farm, and seeing the sort of unique approach, how these systems work, almost logic-defyingly in our sort of modern way of thinking. What were some of the lessons that you took away for yourself?
Well, Eduardo from the Dehesa, my lesson, what I learned from him was that he was piggybacking off of your 2,000-year-old jamon iberico tradition. And I didn't understand that until many trips to the Dehesa, to his raising his geese. He was really following the pigs, and having the geese eat the same acorns your pigs enjoy. And what it taught me is that when you treat animals, and I would say vegetables, in tune with nature, meaning you're not fighting nature, you're working with, you get incredible deliciousness. I have not seen it work any other way. So what Eduardo becomes what you call a parable. He becomes a small story, but for a very large message. Do not fight nature. And one of the great examples of fighting nature is force feeding a duck or a goose. That's gavage. That is forcing an animal to overeat. And what Eduardo was saying was, an animal will overeat if you give the goose enough feed to overeat, and they're happy and they feel safe, and they feel loved. It's the same for plants. Plants will thrive in an environment where they feel safe and well fed. And that's a great lesson for us as human beings to understand. Fighting nature, you never win. And that's what's so important about those 4 companies that I put on the screen. They're all fighting. They're at war with nature. That's war. War is the chemical intervention. That's the war. But Eduardo takes a very different approach, and I think it is a beautiful approach, and one that we can learn a lot from, especially chefs, because what's produced is, and that foie gras that he produced was like nothing I've ever had.
Great. I've got another student question here who would like to know, how can places like chain restaurants that are so set in a certain structure, if they want to make a change, where do they start? Where can they jump in? What is the first thing that they should attack to battle a bigger problem?
Great question, but I'm the wrong guy to ask that, because I don't understand how chain restaurants can deal with the kind of issues we're talking about. They do little things here and there that are great, you know. And we had, look, Row 7, my seed company, was supported by a chain restaurant, and they started promoting a squash that we developed for many years that's very high in nutrition and really delicious. And they paid for it to be in their stores, and they introduced it to the world, and I'm really grateful. So there's things that chain restaurants can do. I have not seen a business model or a model for a chain restaurant that really responds to the kinds of things that we talked about this morning.
You are involved in the fine dining industry, not in the chain one, but in fine dining. And here we have a question regarding what is going to happen with restaurants in the US with COVID, if you think the fine dining will survive.
Oh.
You're bored with this question. How many times have you
bored,
heard it?
Not bored. No, not bored. I just don't know the answer.
You have been asked this question a million times, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, I've been asked a lot of questions a million times, and this one just hurts me because there's so much pain right now and so much fear. And we're only just beginning to see it. You asked me this question again, you know, in 6 months, and it's going to be a lot worse. You know, but look, there's no way to put a nice face on that. There just isn't. The only thing I can think, and this points a finger at me, is maybe we need to rethink fine dining. You know, in a world where in the United States, 1 of every 5 children is hungry right now. 1 of every 5. 3 of every 5 has some type of diet-related ailment, diabetes. 3 of every 5. So what is that? That's 4/6. That's you know, 60%. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. So fine dining, you know, I'm a big proponent of fine dining. I'm a big advocate for fine dining because I think fine dining allows our kitchens to become ateliers, to become experiment stations for new ideas that can then become part of culture. So I still believe that, but maybe now is not the moment to be focusing on fine dining, on charging people a lot of money for food. I don't know. Maybe there's a different way to look at a restaurant as partnership with a non-for-profit, a restaurant as partnerships with nutrition centers, as medical centers, community centers. I like that model because it takes some pressure off the restaurant to try and make money. And as we know, it's very hard to make money in a restaurant.
But are you somehow optimistic?
I've never been accused of being optimistic in my life. You know what I'm optimistic about is chefs. The best thing about chefs, the best thing about training at the Basque Culinary, and when you all go off and work at restaurants, the best thing is that we are trained to confront difficult situations constantly. That's what service is. Service is difficult situations constantly. And you have to negotiate, and you have to think fast, and you have to move, and you have to keep, you're not in a steady position. You're off kilter. That's very good training, very good. And that's what the moment we're in now. So people who can adjust and think creatively quickly, that's how chefs got the job. Like, actually, this moment is pretty good for us. So that way, I feel really optimistic. It's going to be painful, but if you're going to throw something like this at any group, I wouldn't want to throw it at lawyers. I wouldn't want to throw it at politicians. I wouldn't want to throw, I want to throw it at athletes maybe, and at chefs. That's what I think.
I've got a question about row 7 that I'm really interested in. So, apart from selecting heirloom varieties like the Badger Flame beet and those things, you're also cross-pollinating and almost breeding new heirloom varieties, which I think is incredibly innovative. How do you see it evolving, and what are you trying to what possibilities are you going to try to explore further going forward?
We're going to try and explore new varieties that thrive, that do very well in very specific places. Now that sounds sort of silly, because what I'm saying is, instead of having it be accessible to everybody, I'm actually trying to zero in on certain areas. But to me, the future of food is going to be about very local food production. And for that, we need seeds that are selected for local food production. That's what seeds have always been. When you say heirloom, heirlooms come from a place. They were selected for certain areas. And depending on if it's tomato or carrot or whatever it was all selected in different areas. And their strength, their brilliance of those seeds is dependent on the environment. And we have to think about seed selection for environments, not just ecological environments like out my window, but also cultural environments. It's the same, cultural, environmental. It's both. It's a conversation with both. But right now we have these 4 seed companies that are producing 1 carrot for me in New York, for my friend in California, for my chef friend in Canada, my other chef friend in Mexico, and for you in Spain, and also for the chef in Beijing, China. That's the carrot that's being developed by these people. Now tell me, a carrot that grows in all those different environments, is that going to be a delicious carrot? No, it's going to be a very weak carrot. It's going to grow well because they have the technology now to allow it to grow in all those different environments. But to do that, you take all the genetics and you go like that instead of like that. So I'm interested in going like that, but that means that you're selling your carrot in a very small area. It's very hard to make money to doing that, but that's what I believe is the future of good food. And there has to be a market for that, because if you believe what I said, good food will always win. People will always want to pursue something that is good for them and makes them happy. And if that's the case, we're going to have to spend a little bit more money on food and a little bit more money on seeds.
Great. I've got one last student question to wrap up. Who wants to ask, what's your opinion on the current transparency in the world of food industry, and how do you think it should evolve? Should restaurants be more transparent for customers?
Transparent on what end? For ingredients, or transparent in what?
On ingredients, on the work environment, but I think mainly on sort of what the actual substances of what a restaurant offers.
Well, if you're talking about ingredients and the culture of the restaurant, both of those things I think are covered by the menu. We need to recognize the power of the menu as a artifact of the condition of the restaurant. And so to the extent that is communicated to the diner, depends on the chef and the restaurant. It's up to us as diners, it's up to the diners to continuing ask questions, which in my restaurant, they do a lot of, because I don't even have menus. In my restaurant, you talk about transparency. I mean, I don't even have a menu because I do a different menu for every table. So I don't want a thing that people are holding that is set in stone. I'm changing things every 10 minutes. I'm changing things in my kitchen. It's very hard, but to me, it's transparent. It's saying, here's what's beautiful at the moment, and here's how we're presenting it to you. And it sparks a lot of feedback. But I've also seen chefs wear everything on their sleeve. I don't know. There's different cultural environments in restaurants, and I don't know that there's one way to do it. I think there's many ways. And I encourage the students on this call to find their own way of communicating. But as a chef, one of your roles as we move forward is to be communicators. And this cannot, we are done with the days of chefs in the basement drinking, getting drunk and disappearing. Those days are gone. And thanks to people like Jose Marie and the chefs in Spain, really, who have created a movement, a revolution around the power of chefs to be a spokesperson for the future of food. This, to me, I feel very comfortable with chefs in that role, because who else would you trust? Who do you trust? Nobody. And so this is a very big moment of transformation that started with the Nouvelle Cuisine chef, started with Michel Bras and Paul Bocuse and many others that in the French Revolution of the 70s who said, we're not going to stay in the basement anymore. We're going to write a menu and we're going to sign our name on it. And Bocuse is going to Paul Bocuse is going to be Bocuse Restaurant. We're going to name the restaurant after the chef. And that was the turning point. And what the Spanish chefs have done is taken that to another level. And we around the world, but America in particular, has watched with awe. It's amazing. So I feel it is in our own personality as chefs to communicate to our diners, but for sure we need to be communicators and inspire through our food. So this is the role of the chef of the future, and you are in no better hands than the Basque Culinary Center to be trained for that.
Thank you so much, Dan. You are too generous about the
I'm
work.
saying that based on my last tour there, which was pre-COVID, but I mean, I've always been a big fan of the school, but after that time spent there, I couldn't believe it. I mean, it's an amazing institution. And I can only tell you that in America, we have nothing like it, and this is unfortunate for us, but for you are leaders now, and we need to emulate you. So good luck and work hard.
Yeah, we will. No, and thank you so much for. Also, I am sure that you have planted today a lot of seeds in our students, not only in the brain, also in their inner thinking. And I'm sure we believe so much about the role of chefs. You have been talking. I mean, this is an university. This is a contemporary professional. It's not the place, the basement to be, but in front of the main issues of our society. So, thank you. Thank you so much.
You have been an advocate for that, and I'm such an admirer of your work. So thank you.
Thank you. And we keep in touch. Anything you need, you know that this is your home. So please.
I'll be there very soon. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Sasha. Thank you, Philip. Thank you, Jose Marie. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.